All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome, everybody. Look, if you're trying to figure out the working world in Portugal, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're walking through a really practical, step-by-step explainer. We're going to take you all the way from figuring out your current employment status right up to confidently crushing a job interview. We'll decode the local terms, break down the numbers, and give you the exact framework you need to actually succeed out there. So, are you ready to enter the Portuguese job market? I know, as a career coach, that picking up and moving your professional life to a totally new country is, well, it's intimidating, right? You've got the language barrier, legal jargon that makes no sense, and resume rules that are just completely different from what you're used to. But honestly, do not stress. By the time we wrap up today, this explainer is going to arm you with the exact tools you need to push past those hurdles and step into the workforce, feeling completely prepared.
Okay, here's our game plan for the day. First, o seu perfil profissional. Second, ler anuncios de emprego. Third, salarios y condiciones de trabalho. Fourth, o seu currículo português. And finally, number 5, a entrevista y o passado.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, o seu perfil profissional, defining your status.
Right off the bat, if you're actively looking for work, you've got to know your acronyms. They can feel like alphabet soup, but they matter. NLD basically means you're looking for your very first job, or you've been unemployed for less than 12 months. On the flip side, NDLD is the official term for long-term unemployment, meaning you've been out of the game for over a year. Figuring out which bucket you fall into is literally step 1 for navigating their system. Now, what if you actually already have a job? You're going to use the phrase empregado por conta de outrem. In local business speak, this just means you're on someone else's payroll right now. You aren't a freelancer, you aren't running your own business. It's a great phrase to know because it instantly tells a prospective boss that you are currently active in the workforce. Moving right along to Section 2, ler anúncios de emprego, decoding job ads. Let's look at some real-world examples. Take the ad for an ajudante de cozinha, a kitchen helper. Check out those requirements. It only asks for a 4th grade education and explicitly says you don't even need prior experience. It is a true ground floor entry-level gig. But then contrast that with the recepcionista de hotel ad, the hotel receptionist. The bar jumps way up, right? Now they want a 12th grade education, formal hospitality training, and this is huge, strong language skills, fluent English plus notions of Spanish and French. Breaking ads down like this helps you quickly filter out what perfectly matches your current skill set. All right, Section 3, salários e condições de trabalho, understanding compensation. Okay, let's talk money. The most critical term here is remuneração base, or base remuneration. In both of those job ads we just looked at, the base salary was listed at €850 a month. But here is the catch. You have to remember that this is a gross amount. That's the number before taxes and Social Security take their cut. You definitely want to factor that reality in when you're budgeting your new life. But hey, here's some really good news to balance that out. Alongside your base salary, you are almost always going to see a subsídio de refeição. This is a meal allowance, and it's this fantastic, uniquely Portuguese financial perk. It's an extra, tax-free chunk of money paid out for every single day you work, specifically to cover your lunch. It's completely standard practice, and you'll usually spot it under remuneração e subsídios in your offer letter, right next to other perks like holiday and Christmas bonuses.
You also absolutely need to know how you're being hired because this dictates your job security. The 3 big ones you'll see are contrato a termo certo, which is a fixed-term contract with a hard end date, usually 6 or 12 months. Then there's contrato a termo incerto, which means you're hired for a specific project, but there isn't a strict end date. Or you might be working on recibos verdes, that literally translates to green receipts, and it means you're an independent contractor. Knowing exactly which one you're signing manages your expectations from day one.
Next up, Section 4, o seu currículo português, building the CV.
Take a look at Catarina's CV. She happens to be a software engineer, but honestly, this exact format works for anyone. Notice how clean and straightforward it is? You really don't need fancy graphics, you just need clarity. Look at the specific heading she uses. Perfil at the top to give a quick summary, experiencia profesional for her work history, and habilitaciones académicas for her schooling. If you structure yours exactly like this, you instantly remove any friction for the recruiter reading it.
And finally, Section 5, a entrevista y o passado, acing the interview. Listen to how a candidate named Leila handled a question about her history in our source material. She said, "Sim, fui ajudante de cozinha e já servi à mesa num restaurante no centro da cidade."
Did you catch the verbs? She didn't just throw out random nouns. She used really strong past tense verbs to basically say, yes, I was a kitchen helper and I served tables in a downtown restaurant. By conjugating her verbs with that much confidence, she paints this really vivid, professional picture of her pre-pandemic work history. It just sounds so natural and assertive. Now, I know what you're thinking looking at this. Grammar lesson. But please, don't view this as some boring textbook chart. This is literally your secret weapon. In Portuguese, if you can master these simple past tense endings for verbs ending in AR, ER, and IR, you can talk about pretty much any past achievement. If you can walk in and confidently drop trabalhei for I worked, aprendi for I learned, and decidi for I decided, you aren't just surviving an interview anymore. You're having a dynamic conversation about your actual value. And I've got one more advanced pro tip for you here. When a recruiter is throwing rapid-fire questions at you, you want to avoid sounding like a broken record. So instead of repeating the exact same noun over and over, use direct object pronouns, things like o, a, os, and as. Think about it like in English. We wouldn't keep saying, he wants the chocolates. We'd say, he wants them. It's the same in Portuguese. Changing ele quer os chocolates to ele quer os instantly makes you sound incredibly fluent and comfortable under pressure. It's a tiny tweak, but it leaves a massive impression.
Okay, let's pull all of this together into something you can actually use. Here is your 3-step action plan. Number 1, meticulously analyze those job ads so you know exactly what they want and what kind of contract they're offering. Number 2, update your CV right now using those standard Portuguese headings like perfil and experiência profissional. And number 3, practice your interview answers out loud. Focus heavily on using that past tense to own your achievement. You've got the roadmap now. You know the terminology, and you have a bulletproof strategy. The tools are quite literally right in front of you. So my final question to you is this. What is your Portuguese success story going to look like? Go take that first step. Update your CV today, and let's find out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. And seriously, best of luck out there.